Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm so happy to have you with us today for this Google Classroom 101. In this session, we're going to be reviewing how to use Google Classroom, how to get started, how to add content, and also we're going to have a little bit on how to use Google Meet inside of Google Classroom. So it's going to be a packed session, but the beauty of YouTube is that you're actually gonna be able to watch this as a replay. I saw in the chat box before we got started some people that this is a new platform for them, so welcome. We've been streaming since March from the Edtech team, so we appreciate you being here and we hope that you'll learn a lot, and we hope that this won't be your first and last stream. We hope that you'll keep coming back and watching our trainings as we go along. So we'll talk a little bit more about that as we go forward. But I just want to introduce myself today. Again, my name is John Shoemaker. My colleague Dana Rubenstein is actually having some extreme Wi-Fi problems today. So we are going to hope she joins us for her section. But if she doesn't, we'll be able to have her on a future stream as well. Our email and contact information is on the screen. Please feel free to tweet at us. We love to hear and see what you're doing in your classroom through Twitter, and connect with us and start building your personal learning, your professional learning network. We would love to see that. So before we get started, we have a little bit of housekeeping to talk about. The first thing is, again, if you're new to this, we're using YouTube Live with a platform called StreamYard. We're doing this because we know that we are hitting sometimes more than 250 people, which is the max that Google Meet can handle. So you'll notice some different features of this. So you don't have an audio or a video. All you have access to is that chat box over there on the right. Now, some of you, if you have your screen maximized, you may have to not maximize the YouTube video, or it might be down below if you're in theater mode. But there is a chat box. So look for that chat box. And again, if this is your first time, when you click in the chat box, it will ask you to make a channel. It's totally okay. Just click OK, make a channel, because as part of our Google integration, you all have your own YouTube channel through your school district email. So just click make channel or whatever the prompt says, and then you'll have access to that chat box over there. So please feel free to use the chat box over there. One thing that I do want to share as well is that I'm actually kind of on a delay. So I could be up to 30 seconds in the future. So you guys are typing in the future from me. So I appreciate everything that you're doing, but we do have moderators in the chat. So we have people over there with the wrenches. Oops, so it's actually over there on that side. We have people with wrenches who are our moderators from the Edtech team. So they are actually able to answer your questions for us, for me, because I am not able to get to all the questions quickly. So thank you, Edtech team, for being moderators. Also, this session is recorded. So once this is over, it will be live at the same link that you used to get here. So the link will stay exactly the same, and then you will be able to rewatch or pause and record the session. This is, again, where you're supposed to be if you're looking for the Google Classroom 101. It's just a different medium. So don't forget, also feel free to like that video down below. We would love to get like up to maybe 50 likes on this video. We got almost 200 people here. So 50 likes would be awesome. And we would love to hit 4,000 subscribers by school start. But if you want to click the subscribe button down below, what that will do is it will subscribe you to our channel. And then if you click that little bell next to it, you'll actually get an email every time we go live, because what we're going to be doing in September is we're going to be starting up our live streams again. So we're going to be showing you ways to integrate technology with the distance learning. So please, please, please feel free to subscribe to us down below. We would love to have you guys as subscribers. So also, another thing that we're doing right now is what we're calling workshop selfies. So we would love to see your workshop selfie. Basically, what that means is we want to see where you're learning from today. So all we're asking you to do is take your camera, and I'll demo that right now. I'm going to take my phone, and I'm going to turn it on, and I'm going to make it in selfie mode, and then just take a picture of where you're learning from today. And then post it to Twitter. And make sure you use the hashtag ETPBC and tag at EdTechPBC. And maybe you'll be in our next workshop selfie highlight reel. But we would love to see you guys where you're learning from. Some of you might be in your classroom. Some of you might be at your school, somewhere in your school. And some of you could even be at home watching us from the luxury of your couch. So we welcome all of you. Thank you for being here and show us where you're learning from today. So with that, we're going to go over the quick agenda. So I'm going to go over accessing Google Classroom, how to create your classroom and add people, adding content to your classroom. We're going to talk about live Google Meets using Classroom. And then we're going to talk about some additional resources and your implementation. So one thing it's important to note is that we will be sharing at the end of the session all of the information on ELM. So we're going to talk about ELM and how to access it and what the homework is and all of that at the end of the session. So hang on to those questions. Please feel free to hold on to those questions until the end, and we will share everything you need to know about implementation for the technology bucket. Again, thank you for joining us. The hashtag is on all of our slides. It's ETPBC Summer PD. Please feel free to tag us there. So thank you again for joining us, and we will get started. Yes, Nancy, I do see you are tweeting, you are texting. We gotcha. And also, don't forget, if I'm seeing a lot of people saying they don't have Twitter, please, I would highly recommend that you check out Twitter for a new learning network. There are so many amazing things on Twitter. There are so many great ideas. It's not hard, and maybe we'll even do a session on Twitter coming soon. So keep an eye out for that. So with that, I believe at this point now we're going to go live. So I'm going to hop over to my email and show you Google Classroom. So the first thing that you have to do in order to get to Google Classroom is start from your email, and you get to your email through the portal, obviously. You can also get the Classroom through the portal, but most of us are going to be here. So what you're going to do is click on your little waffle up here. It's those 9 dots. Click on the waffle, and then inside of here is where you're going to find Classroom. Now, Classroom lives in different places here because people can rearrange these icons. You just click and drag them. So if you want Classroom at the top instead of Google search, I can drag that all the way up here. So keep that in mind, that it is always in a different place for each person. And for some reason, it's almost always down here as well in a second place. So to get to Google Classroom, you just go either through the portal or you click it in your email. When you do that, it's going to take you to your Google Classroom landing page. And so this is kind of your dashboard. And so when you're at your dashboard, what you're going to do is, normally if this is your first time, we do not have any classes in here. But because this is not my first class, I have all of these classes that I'm either a teacher or a student in. So the first thing that you need to do for Classroom is to create your classes, right? So what we're going to do is, in the top right corner, there's a plus button. You're going to click the plus button and click Create Class. Now, when I do this, it's going to ask me for a class name. For some of you, your admins may already have ideas on how they want you to name your Google Classrooms. So before you set up your classroom, I would ask my department chair, my grade chair, or an AP if your school has a specific naming convention. That's important because some schools would like them consistent across the board. But basically, your class name is the name of your class. But I would not just put period 1, because this is also what the students see. So I would make it a little bit more descriptive. So maybe I would say period 1, English, Mr. Shoemaker. And so that way, the students will have a little bit more information on their side as well, okay? Now, the section could also be the period if you want. So notice I could put period down here. And so now I have English, Mr. Shoemaker, period 1, subject, it could be English again. right? I don't need any of those. And then if you have your room number, you can put your room number in there for when we go back to brick and mortar. Once you click create, it does take a few seconds to create your class, because what it's doing is it's actually building a calendar, it's building a Google Drive folder for you, it's doing a lot of stuff in the background to build your class. And then once it's finished, you see, here's my class, okay? So this is your classroom now. Notice it has English with Mr. Shoemaker, period 1. And when I go back to my dashboard, here is that class I just created. So this is how you create a class, okay? You need to create your classes for each one of your classes you teach. Now, for elementary, if you're departmentalized, you may create one class per subject. If you are not departmentalized, you may have only one classroom for your whole class. That is your choice. It's how you want to run your classroom. And for fine arts, that's also a different question as well. Fine arts, you may create a different classroom for every single session that you see, or you could do it by grade level. So maybe you have all of your kindergarten kids in one classroom. So it's all about how you want to design the classroom to make it easier on you. Some fine arts teachers are actually co-teachers in the classroom teacher classes, and they just add assignments directly there. So that's up to you. Please feel free to just work it out the way that you would like it. Okay. So with that, I'm gonna go into my Edtech classroom. So this is my classroom now. So we're gonna pretend today that this is the classroom that we're working with, and I'm going to show you some of the settings. So for me, one of the things that I am big on with any program I get, if I install a new program or an extension or anything, I love to look at the settings because I love to customize things. I want to make things that are, the way I want it. So what I always recommend teachers do is that you actually go in and you look at the settings. And to do that, you just click on the gear in this top right corner, and it brings up your details. And this is where you can change the class name. So maybe you actually named it and your admins say that they want you to change the name. This is where you can actually change it and update it. And again, all the different ideas that you can put here for your class. When you scroll down, this is where you have information on invite codes. I'm gonna enlarge that some more. And so I can do invite codes through a code. So I can disable the codes on, they move the codes. Here's the class code. So there are several ways, go away. There are several ways that you can get students into your classroom. And one of the ways is through a code and the other is through a link, but we'll talk about all that in a second, okay? As I scroll down, the stream is a part of the classroom that we'll talk about, but that's actually a place where you can have students comment on things. So if you want to have some more two-way conversation, you can actually make it so students can add comments in the stream and ask you questions. So those are options available as well. This is how you want to show your notifications on the stream. Do you want to show deleted items? Should guardians go get summaries? So you probably want to turn on guardian summaries for everyone if that's not turned on already for you. There's information on Meet, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And then we have information on grading, which we're really not going to touch on grading right now. We do have a session on grading somewhere else, but we're also going to do a live stream on grading and rubrics and all of that. We're going to talk about all of that in September as well. So we know that you just need to jumpstart and get started with your classroom first. You don't really need to start with grading immediately. So this is kind of the basics on just getting started and getting off the ground. So I'm going to click save in the top right corner. You know it's saving because it has that fun little line. And it takes me back to my classroom, which I'm going to zoom out a little bit again here. So that is your settings. Now, one other issue, especially for leadership or fine arts, is that once you create your Google Classroom, you're going to start getting email. And if you are a member of a lot of classrooms, you're going to start getting a lot of email. We had some people getting up to 200 emails a day because of how many Google Classrooms they were in. So what I want to share with you is some ways that you can mitigate how much email you get from Google Classroom. So with that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you, oops, sorry, hang on one second, there. I'm going to show you where you can change the email settings. So with that, in the top left corner, you have your little hamburger menu. When you click on that, it expands. And then all the way down at the bottom, there's another set of settings. So just like I told you before, I love to look at my settings. Well, surprise, Google has two settings for your classroom. This setting is for all of your classrooms at once, but it's also for your notifications. So right now, I don't have any notifications on. But if I were to turn this on, and as a teacher, please, please, please make sure you have some notifications on. You don't want to have a classroom just going with no notifications. Once I opened that, if you notice what happened, I now have a lot more options. So I can turn all these on or off based on the notifications I want from my students, okay? So this is important to know. You can turn off notifications. And now let's say that you join like a PLC group. There's a district, let's say classroom, but you don't want any notifications from that. Down here at the bottom, when I open this up, notice I can turn notifications off by class. So if you look here, I can say, okay, I don't want any notifications from the Power Smoothie session that I went to. Boom, I'll never get a notification. Even if it's turned on up here, it will not be sent to me because I turned it off down here. So that's helpful if you do not want to get notifications for certain classes. So keep that in mind with notifications. You should have some of them on, but you don't have to have all of them on because otherwise you might get overwhelmed, okay? Now, if you've been using Classroom for a while now, you may have noticed that something happened yesterday and you got some new buttons. We noticed this pretty late yesterday that when we were on our dashboard, ta-da, to do and to review have now popped up inside of our Google Classroom. So these are new features that Google has released. And so I'm going to show you them really quickly. The first one is the to-do list. And the to-do list is everything that students need to complete. So if I were a teacher now, I would make sure I go over this with my kids because what it does is it puts all of their assignments in order based by due date. Now notice all of these are 2017 because that's when my assignments are. They had no due date. But what it does down here at the bottom is it's going to tell me what's due this week. And I can open that up. I don't have any, obviously, but I can see what's due next week. I can see what's due later, okay? So that's assignments. It's brand new, just came out yesterday. Also, I can show what's missing. So as a student, I can come in and see these are the assignments that I have not finished yet. So it's like an agenda for your students, which is extremely powerful. So I would be telling my students to look at their to-do tab often because it's going to show when their things are assigned, what things are missing, and what assignments they've actually completed already. Again, I got there by being on my dashboard here, and it's in the top left corner. Because once you get into your classroom, it's not on your main page, your classroom, it's actually, oh, it went away, hold on, nope, it's not there either, I lied. So the way that you get there is you have to be going either on your main page here, or in the bars over here, notice it's down here under enrolled. I have the to-do here as well, okay? The other thing that came out yesterday, Google announced or released the to review. So when I click to review, this is now the teacher side. So all the classes that I'm teaching, I now am seeing what assignments I still have out there and what things need to be done on the teacher side. So if you notice, for example, the rock cycle essay is assigned to 3 students, but only none of them have turned this one in. One turned this one in, but there are 2 kids who had access. So what the beauty of this is that now you have all of your assignments in one place to review, and then once you've reviewed them, it moves over here. And you can break this down by class too. So maybe I only want to see assignments in my Edtech classroom, and I'm only seeing them there. So this is a great thing for the teacher side, for you to be able to review everything that you need for your class, okay? So and again, that lives in the hamburger menu for teachers. Again, that's under the ones you teach, because if you're not teaching a class, then you won't be able to review any of the assignments. So 2 things that just came out yesterday, brand new to Google Classroom. I also want to share with you, Google is updating Classroom and Meet all the time. So we will continue to update our website that we'll talk about at the end often, so that you know what is being updated with Classroom, with Meet as it's happening. I am seeing some questions about Meet and all of that in the chat, so I see the moderators are taking care of that. So I just want to let you know that we will try to keep on tabs. We'll hold an immediate live stream. So when all the stuff starts going live with Meet, we'll figure out a day that week during lunch, and we will do a live stream that you can watch live or come back to and watch recorded. So now that I have my classroom, the next thing I need to do is add people to my classroom, right? So I'm going to go into my classroom. I'll actually use the Edtech one. And under people is where I can add co-teachers. So if your school says you need to add co-teachers, or you need to add your admins as a co-teacher, you just click on people and then click the little person right here. And when I click on that, all I have to do now is type in the names of the teachers who I want to be added to my class. So I will do, let's just say, and as I start typing, notice their names come up. I click it and I can hit invite. I can add all the people at one time and then invite, and then Adam will get an email that says that John is inviting you to be a co-teacher in his classroom. There's a button where they can click it and accept it. Now, once they have been invited, if they don't click it and accept it through email, it will show up if you notice down here. So this means that Tony has invited me to be part of his classroom, but I have not accepted it yet. So I would just click accept to get in there, okay? The other option for adding people is to add students. Whoops, I went into the wrong class. Sorry about that. The other option is to add students. So you can see here now we have 3 students in this class, and all I need to do is click the plus sign with the person, type in the student's name. Notice there's also a new link here. So if you want to send this link, let's say you use Remind 101, or you're going to use Parent Link to text your parents, you can actually invite parents by clicking the copy link and sharing that link with your students. So that is now, when you click on that plus sign, it will then give you the link to share with your students as well. For some of you, you may remember, you may have joined us a few weeks ago, last week I think it was, where we did actually review how to use the SIS sync. So there is another way to roster your class through the SIS. That video is on our channel, which is down below. You can just click on our name down below and watch how to sync from your SIS roster to your Google Classroom. So all of that that's just a one-click thing, or a couple-click thing, instead of having to type in all of your students' email addresses, okay? So that's how you add students. The last person that you need to add is guardians. And so to add a guardian, notice I have my student John Long here. Whoops, resizing the wrong screen. So I have my student John Long down here, and I go into the SIS and I get John Long's parents' email. And so I can click in here and type in his parents' email and invite the parents. Now, when you invite parents, there's a couple things to know. Parents do not have access to your Google Classroom, okay? Parents only get a guardian summary, which is what I turned on in the settings before. So keep that in mind. They can't jump in your classroom. They don't get to see everything. They only get a summary of what's due, what their grade is, all of that fun stuff, okay? So all of that is how you invite guardians. The nice thing about inviting guardians, though, is let's say my student obviously has 5 classes or 6 classes from secondary. When they go to another teacher, if a teacher last year added the guardian's already going to be there for you. So only one of the child's teachers needs to add the guardian, and it sticks for all of the teachers. So that's an important feature that you need to know as well. And so with that, I believe my colleague Dana is with us now, back with her Wi-Fi. Fun. So we're going to have Dana take over talking about adding content. Again, Dana is one of the people on our team in EdTech. And so she's going to talk about adding content. So Dana, go ahead.
Thank you, John, and I'm so glad to be here. I apologize for the delay. I was definitely having some internet issues right at the time to get started. So I know John introduced you to Google Classroom. Course. So when your students and you arrive in your Google Classroom course, you're going to land on the stream. And this is what the stream looks like. Here you have your title, you have your class code, which you can make larger if you need to, and you have the Google Meet link where students can click right here to join. The stream is in chronological order, and this displays the items that you as the teacher have added to your course. And in order to add content to your course, we're going to be working in the Classwork tab. So you'll notice that you have a few tabs on the top. We have the stream, the Classwork, people, where John was showing you how you can add students, and then the grades. Over here, you also have anything that's upcoming. So this is where students will see if you have a due date that is upcoming, the students will see it here. They can also click on View All, and that will take them and you to where John was showing you, where you can see your items that are coming up soon. You can also navigate to other courses if you want, and you can look at the reviewed items. So I'm just going to go back to the main menu, and let me just actually hit this back button and we'll come back to our course. So for now, let's hop into the Classwork. And first, I just want to show you a little bit of the navigation, and then we'll jump into creating some of the content. So right here on the left-hand side, this is your table of contents. So we have our topics. What's really a best practice when you're creating your Google Classroom content is to start with some topics, because that helps your students identify as you're chunking your content as they scroll through your Classwork page right here. So we can see this topic, for example, is expectations for distance learning. And then I have a few items in here. And then as we scroll down, we have another topic. This one is identified by a date and a unit, and then the name of the unit. So we recommend that you talk to your administration. There might be some guidelines that your administration would like all teachers to follow so that there's consistency at your school, because we want our students to have that same consistency as they jump from one class to another. So definitely talk to your principal about that. But regardless of the format, you definitely want to use some topics, because it just helps identify what the label is for that content. And what's nice is that the topics are also identified here on the left as well. As we look around, we also have the Google Meet button on the top. Each classroom has its own Google Calendar. So students can see all due dates right away on the Google Calendar, and they're differentiated by colors. So if you are a middle or high school teacher and your students are in several Google classrooms, they will see the different calendars for each of those. And then each Google Classroom course also has its own class drive folder where all of the work automatically populates into that folder as well. So as we come on down, let me give you an example of a rock cycle unit. So there's a few different kinds of content that you can add to Google Classroom. So under this topic, here we have just material. This is an example of just identifying the standard and the objectives for this unit. Material is just where the teacher is adding something. There is nothing for the students to submit. This is just content that's one way from the teacher to the student for them to view only. So that is material. And then to collapse it, you just click on the title and it rolls back up. Here we have an example of more material, but in this example, along the rock cycle topic still are some websites. So think of this as just giving almost like a playlist where students have a few items and the students can pick a few of these to view. But again, nothing to submit, just content to share. Now we have an example of an assignment. And what's nice is these little icons also help the students quickly as a visual know what each of them is. So this little looks like a little piece of paper with writing on it. That is an assignment. And this is actually where students will submit something back to the teacher. So in this example here, we have Brain Pop. And I'm just going to click here on View Assignment so it gets a little bit bigger for you. And let me go to the instructions. And here's what it looks like. So as the teacher, I'm going to show you how you can give it a point value and a due date. The instructions are very clearly laid out so that students know exactly what to do. You can add links. You can add links within you can embed them within the assignment as well. And in this particular one, I'm having students diagram the rock cycle using Google Drawings. And I will show you how you can embed that within your assignment as well. What's nice about this is because if you're using any of our district subscriptions, such as Brain Pop or anything else that's on the portal, just make sure that students go through the portal and log in first and then return to Google Classroom so that everything is authenticated through the portal. And then when they come in here, Brain Pop and anything else will work when they click on the links. So that's just one nice example of an assignment. And again, the assignment would be submitted back to the teacher. All right, we're going to roll that back up. And then another kind of item that you can add in your classroom is a discussion. A discussion is a nice way to have a virtual discussion with students where you can post a question and then students can respond to each other. You can even have them, it's up to the teacher in the settings whether you want them to respond to each other or not. And there's two different question types. And so that's a nice way to have this virtual conversation since we're teaching and learning in a virtual setting right now. And you can also create a quiz. So using Google Forms, you can turn it into a quiz and you can add that into your classroom as well. So now that you've seen an example of what kinds of content can be added into your Google Classroom course, let's go ahead and see how we can add that. So everything is added by creating with this plus button up here. So we go ahead and click create, and we're going to start with a topic because that's our best practice to help organize for our students. And I'm going to call this a check-in. Once we type in our topic, we're going to add, and it populates on the top, but you can drag and you can move things around as needed. You can also click the ellipse, or I call these the blueberries. But if you click the ellipse, you can always rename, you can delete, you can move around, you can copy things. So there's always a way that you can edit. And now I want to add something to this topic. So to add again, I'm going to click on create. And this is where everything you can see here. I can reuse a post from a different Google Classroom course. I can add material, a question. a quiz assignment. That's the Google form quiz. We're not going to get to that in this live stream, but we do have resources on our website, which we're going to show you at the end, that you can watch to learn how to do that. And then we're going to learn how to do an assignment as well. So let's start with material. And this is what it looks like when you add material. So we're going to give this a name, and I'm going to call this our daily check-in. And you can add your description. So this is where you can add your directions. And because your students, some of your teaching is synchronous when you're doing your Google Meets, and much of it is asynchronous when you're putting your assignments and your material in Google Classroom, and students are working that independently from home, it's a good idea to be as specific as possible in your details right here so that students can refer to this on their own and read through it and know exactly what the directions are. So this is where you would add your directions right there. And then down here is where you have a few options to add your material. So if we click on add, we can pull something from Google Drive. You can add a link, a file, or a YouTube video. You can also create something. And if you click on that button, it is going to open up a drop-down where you can add a Google Doc, slides, sheets, drawings, or forms. So for this particular example, I want to show you how to add a Google form that I already have created. So to do that, we're going to click on Google Drive. And once this opens, here we go. You can find something that you've worked on recently. You can upload, you can look through your drive, you can always search. And here we go. And I am going to go ahead and find a form that I want to use. So this is the daily check-in for elementary. Okay, so I found what I'm looking for. I go ahead and click on it, and notice it has this little blue perimeter when you select what you want, and then you come down here and click insert. And then it will populate down here, and now I know I've added that to my material. And if you wanted to add more items, you could continue to click add, and you can add as many items as you wanted. So once you have your material added on the left, now we go to the right, and it's very important that you look at the settings, because over here, you decide what course you want to add this to. So I'm in the Edtech classroom, so that's already checked. But if I wanted to, I could add this to multiple classes at the same time. And then I can also come over here and I can decide on students. Now I want to show you one thing. Notice how since I've added this daily check-in to 3 classes, now my students are grayed out. So by default, this will go to all of the students in those 3 classes. However, if I uncheck and I only share this with 1 class at a time, now if I go to all students, and I don't have many students in here, but I could, if I chose, I could select only a few students if I wanted to. So if you need to differentiate and only send material or an assignment to a few students at a time, the key to that is that you only share to 1 class at a time. So just keep that in mind when you're working on that. So for now, I can set this to all students for that class. And then it's always the best practice to put this in a topic. So pull this drop down, and I have my topic created, but if you don't have that set in advance, you can always create a topic right here if you need to. So for now, I'll click my topic. And then in terms of posting this, you have a few options. So I can post this right away, or if I pull this drop down, I can schedule. So that means if I don't want the students to see this right now, maybe this is something that is for next week and I don't want it visible until the day of the assignment that I'm ready to introduce to my class. I can schedule it for a future date. I can save the draft, or I could just discard this completely. So for now,
before you hit post,
yes,
I want to share also, will you add another class under the 4 real quick, like posting it to multiple classes?
yes.
One of the biggest concerns that teachers have is once you choose a second class to post to, you can no longer schedule your post. So Dana, if you click that little down arrow up there, you'll notice that schedule is now grayed out. We have shared your feedback. We know it's frustrating. We know that you would love to be able to schedule it to all of your classes all at once. It is something that we have shared with Google. Hopefully they will update it soon, but just know that that's not possible, but you can reuse a post. So once you post it, you go to your new class and just reuse that post for that class, and that should fix it. Okay. Thanks,
Exactly.
Dana.
That's the workaround. And I'm so glad you brought that up, because we do get emails about that quite frequently. So for middle and high school teachers that have multiple classes, we completely understand. So I'll show you how you can reuse a post in a second. So for now, let me just post this so that we can see how that looks. And there we are. And here it is. And notice when it's posted, it's a little bit darker. When something is scheduled or draft, it's grayed out. So that's how you can add material. Let's see how we can add an assignment. We're going to go ahead and click that create button again and add an assignment. And this one, we're going to add another title. I'm going to call this one Rock Cycle again. That seems to be my theme. And for this one, I am going to have them write an essay describing the rock cycle. Now, if I had more time, I would put specifics of what I wanted my students to include in their essay, but for the purposes of time, we'll just leave it as that. And now I want to show you how you might want to have something where you can create a copy of something. A lot of teachers are creating slide decks or these virtual notebooks with slide decks. And if you wanted each student to have their own copy, this is how you can do it. So when you come on to the create button down here, you have this drop down. And no matter what you select, well, actually not forms, but if you select docs, slides, sheets, or drawings, you get an option that it's going to open up into a new window. It becomes untitled. So here is the document that my students are going to have a copy of. So you want to give it a name. And I recommend putting directions on here as well. And the reason for that, so I know my directions are not great, but pretend like they are. I would recommend putting the directions on this document as well, because when this creates a copy for each student, it pushes the student into this copy, into this new window. And the student is no longer looking at the directions in your Google Classroom course. So it's a nice best practice to have the directions on here as well, so that the students see the directions and know exactly what your expectation is. So imagine like these were robust directions and everything is on there. So going back to Google Classroom, now this is the key. As the teacher, when you are creating your assignment, this is the only time where you have this full drop-down menu to decide how you want your students to get this file. Students can either view the file, which means they can view it. They're not able to edit. They're just going to view and read only that file. You can allow them to edit. Now, keep in mind, if they can edit, that means the whole class can edit. So if you have 25 students in your class, they're all working on that at the same time. Or if you want each student to get an individual copy, so think of that as a photocopy machine. So each student gets their own copy of this file, then you want this option, make a copy for each student. So again, that drop down you have to do when you're creating the assignment, because after you've made the assignment, this drop down is no longer an option. it doesn't, it's gone. So we have that here. Then on the right, we have to do the settings again. So you have your class, you have your students. Because this is an assignment that students will submit, you have a point value, which you can always change. You have a due date. It's a good idea to have a due date because this will show up in a few places. The students will see it on the to-do list. They will also see it on the calendar for your Google Classroom course. So having a due date is definitely a best practice. A time, if you don't put a time, it'll default to 11:59 p.m. So you can certainly adjust that as needed. And then make sure you have a topic. So I might want to put that in my rock cycle topic. And then you can add a rubric. We're not going to do that today, but that is a really great idea so that students know exactly what the expectation is and how their assignment will be scored. So we have that set, we come up here, we can assign right away, or we have these options like we talked about before. So this time I'm going to schedule it just because I want to show you how that works. And let's say I want to schedule this for, I don't want students to see this. I have it due September 10th, but I don't want them to see it until September 7th. Because that's when I'm going to introduce this during my live session. So it's going to be visible September 7th at 8 a.m. I'm going to schedule it. And then what happens as the teacher is when I come on down here, I, as the teacher, can see it, but notice it's grayed out and it's scheduled. So students will not see this at all until September 7th at 8 a.m. And if you wanted to change anything, you could just click this ellipse and go to edit, and you could change anything as you need. And then the final thing that we need to show you in terms of adding content is material. I'm sorry, not material, is the question. So the question is that virtual conversation. There's two different question types. You can do a short answer or you can do a multiple choice. So if you really wanted students to be able to share an open-ended answer, you would choose the short answer. And you can type your question if you wanted to. You might want to add some content to that. And maybe you want to add a little video or a link or something for them to view before adding their answer to your question. And then over here, you have the same options for your class, your students, a point value. Or since this is just a discussion, maybe you want this to be ungraded. That's up to you. You can give it a due date, a topic, and then these settings are up to the teacher to decide. Do you want students to reply to each other? And do you want students to edit their answer? So as the teacher, you can put what you want, and then you can either ask that right away, or you can schedule or save that for a draft for later on. So I'll go ahead and ask that just so that you can see how that looks. And oh, and I didn't put that into a topic, so I can always drag that and just move it where I need to go. So now we've learned how to add topics, which is definitely what you want to do so that things are organized for your students. You also learned by clicking the Create button how you can add material, a question, and an assignment. And I know we mentioned reusing a post, so real quick, if you want to pull something from a different course, you would reuse by clicking on reuse. And I'm just going to pull something from one of my play courses, and you see there's not anything quality in here, but just to give you an example, I can pull this in and reuse it. And once that populates into my course, here it is. I can adjust my directions for the new school year. I can adjust my due date, and I can go ahead and finish assigning this particular assignment. All right, John, anything else that I need to cover? I was not looking at the chat.
That's okay. No, I think you were good. There was a question about plagiarism. There are the originality reports are there. We're not going to go into all the grading stuff. Like I said at the beginning, we're going to do that in September. But there are the option for originality reports. And I want to let everyone know right now, you have access to do 3 originality reports per class. So you can pick 3 assignments for the whole year. They are going to increase that to 5, but we're also going to be purchasing the enterprise license, which will give us access to the breakout rooms when they come. So what that means is, according to our Google people, you will have an unlimited number of originality reports. So we do know that that's all been dispatched. Hopefully will be upgraded within the next few weeks. So those originality reports will show up where you have unlimited coming soon, okay? So hopefully that's good news for people. We know that our ELA people love it. So I'm gonna hop back in here and talk a little bit about Meet, and then Dana will take us out at the end. I know we have about 10 minutes, so we'll get through this part a little quickly. So I'll get you back in a minute, Dana. So, the other thing that we know you have to do is hold live meets within your classes every day. So in the spring, Google actually integrated Google Meet and Google Classroom. So if you have a Google Classroom, this is important. Think of it this way. There's 3 ways to do a meet. If you have a Google Classroom, then you should be using the Google Classroom Meet option, which is what I'm going to show you right now. So the Google Classroom Meet option, when you're in your class, you go to your gear, and the first time you see this setting, when you scroll down next to Meet, you have this Generate Meet link. So you have to click on that, and it will then generate your Google Classroom Meet link. Now also see it says visible to students, and then I have to click Save. Make sure you click Save. Now that I've generated my link, when I look at my stream, notice now I have a link here for my Google Meet. So what I would do for my students is I would say, okay, so class starts, let's pretend, at 9 a.m. So I would make a post in Classwork as just a material, and say, live meet. And I would say something like in the description, class starts at 9 a.m. Please be on time. I will be in the classroom 10 minutes early. To get into the meeting, go to the stream and click the link in the header image. And what's going to happen is after your kids do this for about a week with every class, they're really going to understand now how to do and how to join their meets. The first week, yeah, it's going to be a little iffy. But if they all are taught to click that link in the header, then they'll know that's how they get into their Google Meet classroom. One thing it's important to note with this meeting link, here's some important details. The first thing is, students cannot get into these rooms until an adult arrives in the room, okay? So what that means is if your kids click that link anytime that there's not an adult in the room, it will not allow them in the room. On the flip side, after you're finished with your lesson, you need to be the last person out of the room. So if that means you have to kick out a couple of students because they won't leave your meet, you can kick them out. But you're the last person to leave. Once you leave, the door on that closes and you are good to go, and kids can no longer get into that meeting room until an adult arrives. The reason I keep saying an adult is because a lot of teachers test this, and another teacher says, well, my friend was able to get into that meet. Well, of course, because they're an adult. So just because they're not the teacher of that class, because they have @palmbeachschools.org in their email address, we see them as an adult. So that means that they can get into that Google Meet, okay? There's also, what we also don't want you to do, though, is once you click this, the link will actually be changing automatically once you click it. So this link does not change. So if you actually highlight this, or you can actually come in here, and when you click this down arrow in your settings, you can copy this link. If you copy that link, then you will be allowed to then share that link to other students, because that lookup link won't change. But once you click on the lookup link, see how it has the word lookup in it? Once you click on that, it's actually going to change the URL for security purposes, and that way you can't share the link that you're actually in the meeting with. Parents cannot get into these unless they're logged in as their students, and again, they cannot get in unless an adult is there either. I also saw some questions about recording, and I know we may go a little bit over, but I do want to show when you're in your Google Meet, in the bottom right corner, you just click on the 3 dots and that just says record meeting, and that's how you record it. And then once you're done recording, you can do the same thing, click the 3 dots in the bottom, like where you hit the present button, you click it, and then you can stop the recording. Your recording will then be in your Google Drive, shortly. It's not immediate, but it's shortly. Unfortunately, right now, Google does not kick out all the students if the teacher gets disconnected. The students do get to stay in there. So you're going to want to hop in there, and as soon as you can, maybe grab your cell phone. I know I've been in meetings where my power goes out, so I grab my cell phone and try to hop back in the meeting real quick, because I'm on my cellular data until my internet comes up, and then I hop back in with my computer. So it's this fun little juggling game that we got to play if the power or internet goes out. There are ways to do breakout rooms now. They're quite complicated, and you need a pretty powerful computer to do breakout rooms right now. So, we really can't go over that immediately. We will be reviewing breakout rooms, though, when they go live, okay? So that's Google Meet. We do have all of this documented, too. That's the thing that we want to share. So we want to share our website with you. Our website is edtechtraining.palmbeachschools.org. And on the homepage, what we have done now, and let me zoom in on this guy, what we've done on our website now is we've put the latest updates here in the bottom right, in the top right corner, so that all you have to do is see what's new is look right here, and we'll link you to those pages, okay? So the Google Meet page actually was just updated with all the upcoming features. So you can just click right there and it'll take you to the Google Meet page. Now, we're not talking about Meet right now. We're talking about Classroom. So I'm going to show you how to get to the Classroom page. But first, underneath of the, whoops, and now I'm causing a disaster. Underneath of the first banner, we have our calendar. So this is our training calendar. Today is Thursday. So we have another session at 1:30. We're going to have office hours next week. There's dot day. So we're going to keep updating this calendar, and all you would have to do is click on it and then click the link to join, and you'll be able to watch our live stream. So we're going to be doing a lot of live streaming in the fall to help you integrate technology properly. To get to the Google Classroom resources, it's over here under live stream resources, Google Applications, Google Classroom. Now, for those of you who are asking about the SIS integration, that's right here. That page has all the documentation and all the videos you need to roster and do assignments. On the Google Classroom page, I do just want to point out one more thing before I have Dana finish up with ELM. Real quick, we have stuff for students. So if you want to give tutorials to your students on how to use Google Classroom, these are 2 great videos we have found. And then we have a presentation for parents and a quick video for parents on what they get access to. And then we have our getting started guides for teachers. And then all the way down here is our daily attendance ideas. So I actually added yesterday how to take attendance using Flipgrid. This was some great ideas where each day you use Flipgrid, have them post a 15-second video as their check-in. It's also great SEL. And now that Flipgrid actually added that you can export data, it gives you it in a nice little Excel spreadsheet so you can see which kids actually submitted. So then you know that you've taken your attendance. So I think that's a great way to take attendance. Another way to take attendance is just using a form. So we have 2 forms here for you. One is elementary and one is secondary. And you can customize it, and they have SEL questions as well, such as how well did they sleep last night? Did they have good breakfast? All those questions, that's up to you. You can change the questions because it actually will make a copy of those for you. So that's our website at edtechtraining.palmbeachschools.org. So please explore the website. There's lots up there to learn. And to end out, I'm going to have Dana come back, and she's going to share a little bit about the ELM courses. Go ahead, Dana.
Thank you, John. So if you would like to earn in-service points for this course, I know many of you have already enrolled in the course, but just in case you haven't enrolled yet, you would search in ELM for the Technology Bucket Google Classroom 101 course. And the key here is live in the title. So notice how this has live in the title, and it's 8/27, 10:30 a.m. So when you're searching, make sure you find the one with today's date with 10:30 a.m. because that is the live session, and you would enroll in this particular course. Now, if you are already enrolled in maybe the other course, which has the recorded video, which is a great course as well, you would see John going through Google Classroom in a recorded format. If you don't see all of the options for the live session, then you would need to click this little arrow, and it would open the alternate enrollment options, and you would see the drop down, and that is where the other course cards will be, and you can enroll in the live session. Just make sure that if you are going to change from the recorded session into the live session, please drop the recorded session and join the live session, because you can only earn in-service points for one, and we want to make sure that you're not doing double the work. And just know that the implementation activity is the same whether you're in the recorded or the live. So we're going to go over that right now, but the activity is exactly the same. So speaking of implementation, when you are going through the course and you click on launch, it's going to force you to create a copy of a Google Doc. And the implementation for this Google Classroom course is for you to create a Google Classroom course and to include a few items. So in that new class that you've created, you are going to have create three new topics to organize your content, and add at least 3 pieces of content to include at least one material, one assignment, and one question. So those are all things that we learned how to do today. And there has to be at least one piece of content in each of those 3 topics. And then after you've done that, we're asking you to take a screenshot of what you've done and to add that to the Google Doc. And if you don't know how to make a screenshot, that's okay, because we have directions of how to take a screenshot in that Google Doc that you can click on. And then you upload that Google Doc as a PDF, which we have directions how to do that as well, to ELM. And that is the implementation for this particular course if you would like to earn points. And then the other item would be to take the district mandated survey. John, anything else that you want to add? Because I know you're one of the main instructors on this course.
No, that's it. We just shared it last time. Please make sure to save it as a PDF when you upload it. Word documents actually double the time for us to grade. So all you have to do is go to File, Download PDF. We have those directions there too. It really does save time. We have almost 11,000 people in our courses. So we really need, as every second counts for sure. So please keep that in mind. I'm going to answer a question in the chat I'm seeing about the record button in Meet real quick. When you hit record, it does give a warning, but that's okay. It will start recording. You'll see it almost like in the top corner, it'll say recording. So don't worry about that. Just hit record and it'll go. All right, go ahead. Finish up, Dana.
All right. And to support everyone, teachers, as you're going through your remote learning, we are offering office hours next Thursday from 11:30 to 12:30. Hopefully that's during your lunch break. Please join us. You can come and ask any questions that you have. We will share our screens and we will help you out with anything that you need assistance with. We are hoping to continue those office hours as the year continues. We're also offering a Twitter chat on September 15th. If you're not familiar with Twitter chats, this is where we have an online forum where we post questions and you can share ideas and get best practices from people all over the world, not just from Palm Beach County. And so we're having Tuesday Twitter chats, hopefully once a month. And that particular one, our topic is on social emotional learning and using the dot, because that happens to be International Dot Day as well. Next slide.
Yeah, so if you haven't read the dot yet, please make sure to read the dot, and then we'll help you. The Google Classroom page is under Livestream Resources, Google Applications, just so everyone knows. All right, and so with that, go ahead, Dana. Oh, I think Dana lost her internet again right at the last second. So are you there, Dana?
All right. Did I freeze again? Because John,
go
you
ahead.
sound
You can finish up, I think, now.
Okay, so, and on behalf of the training team, thank you so much for your work. We are here to support you. If you need anything, please reach out, and please utilize our website at edtechtraining.palmbeachschools.org. We have so many resources and recorded videos and tutorials and things that you can share with your families. And thank you so much for all of your hard work, teachers. We know how much it's really been tough getting ready for this school year and at the end of last school year. And we appreciate everything that you've done for our community and our students and our families. And on behalf of the whole EdTech department, just thank you so much. And John, last words.
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining us. Please feel free to join all of our other live sessions, watch our recorded videos. We are here for you. We know that it's not an easy time. We know it's not a time that, has been like any other beginning of school year before, but we're here to support. So if you do email us, try to email a group of us so that we can get to your email as fast as we can. But all of the stuff that you probably need to know is somewhere on that website. So please take a look at that website. It's a wealth of knowledge. Reach out to your trailblazers at your school. Reach out to your school tech. There are people out there to help you as well, but we are here to support you in any way we can. So thank you, and hopefully we'll see you again at 1:30. So have a great day. Bye-bye.